everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Pramoda, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Sifu. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I am thrilled to have you. You have done so much with your life, and I believe you're still doing it. I want to get to know you even a little better. I do have your incredible book. Thank you so much for sending it. It's a great read, and also the audio book. Wow, incredible! When you take on a challenge, man, you go for it. I love it. And the name of your book is Beyond Your Limits, and I love the fact that you don't allow anything to limit you. But let's get back to your childhood. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up, and who influenced you before the age of 10? And then we'll go down your timeline as to today, up to today.
Yeah, I like the questions. I was born in India, southern part of India, in a small town.
What was the name of your town?
The name is Shimoga. Shimoga is the town's name. It's a small town. My father was a teacher. My mother was a banker. My family was full of teachers. My grandfather, my uncle, aunt, and many teachers in the family. The biggest influence on me was my father, actually. He was always learning, growing. He was a teacher. He was a high school teacher. He was learning, growing, and he had a lot of fun, enjoyed his life teaching other people. And that's something unique because if you see commonly, people may not have a role model who is enjoying their life. You might see people complaining about life, but you very rarely see people enjoying what they do. Luckily, I had a good role model who was enjoying his life through his service. He was teaching people. He was teaching all the time, morning and in his school. And after school, people used to come to him for lessons. So I saw him really enjoying his life while adding to other people's life. So he has been the biggest influence in my life.
That's beautiful. And so obviously he wasn't just teaching them, he was teaching you, right?
He was teaching by example, living by example.
It's beautiful. It's interesting. My dad was a principal of a school in Colombia. I'm Colombian. And my mom was a teacher, right? And it's interesting when you can see and see what your parents do and live through what they do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they teach a lot by their choices, their lifestyles, and their behaviors. Actions speak louder than words. So whatever choices they make, and as we are watching, we realize what is good, what is bad through their choices.
Actions speak louder than words. That really resonates with me. I use that all the time. Because you can say something, but if your actions reflect something else, your actions will tell the truth, right?
Yeah, I have a distinction called intention versus direction. You might have great intentions in life, but the direction matters. What are you doing every day towards that intention?
Love it, love it. So moving around the age of 10, going to up to your 20s, besides your dad being such an influence, who else would you say influenced your life, your actions that you took based on those people that affected you?
You know, what is funny is up until 20 or 22, I wasn't sure what I really wanted. I was just following other people. I was just doing what other people were doing, like my friends, my cousins, and so on. Up until 22, I did not have anything. Only after that, I had a clear path on what I wanted to pursue in my life. So I would say between my 10 to 22, I had no role models because I was following somebody else all the time, their plan.
Mm.
And when they changed, I said, okay, this is what my plan was because now they changed. I have to think of something else. I never had something on my own, probably until age 22. And that's
Mm.
when things changed.
It's interesting that you say that because a lot of kids who now are being influenced by all these social media don't
Mhm.
have their own voice
Yeah.
and may not get their voice till after, way after 22, and may still not. They're still pursuing this magical life that may not
Mhm.
happen. And the fact that your friends actually changed who they were. They
Mhm.
probably were following each other or other people.
That's right. Yeah. I
But
mean,
when
there is a
right?
phrase called "do not follow the followers"
Mhm.
because they are following somebody else. So you need to
That's right.
find your own path. What really brings you joy? Brings meaning to you, and follow that path instead of following others.
Yeah. The road less traveled is the one that really shows you
Mhm.
who you are, right?
Absolutely, I love it.
So at 22, you knew what you or you started to know what you wanted to do. And what was that?
At 22, my father passed away. All of
Mm,
a
sorry.
sudden, it was totally unpleasant surprise. So he just passed away at age 59. He was 59
Mm,
back then, 2001.
mm,
I was 22. So for about 2001 to 2003, about 2 years, I kept searching, what do I do? What's the meaning to life? Because I was totally shocked. I was at the end of my post graduation in computer science. I knew I was going to join a big company, Oracle. I had a job already, all great things in my life. And all of a sudden, my father passed away.
mm,
This really shocked me. For about 18 months, I kept asking the meaning of life. What's the meaning to life? I read books, self help books. I was reading spiritual books from Hindu philosophy. And then later, about 2 years down the line, my grandfather passed away.
mm,
And at that time, I was in the US for a business visit. I had just joined Oracle as an engineer. I was visiting California in 2003, January. And my grandfather passed away back then. That again troubled me. I said, what's the meaning to life? I kept asking
mm,
the same question. Up until October 2003, I had this question on my mind all the time. What is the meaning to life? This life is meaningless.
mm,
I went to a seminar in 2003, October 2003, on time management. There were 20 people in the room. I was sitting there with those 20 people. The trainer was an accountant who became a soft skills trainer back then. So this accountant is talking about his life and how a person named John Goddard influenced him. Now, John Goddard is an American. Back then, he was in his 60s, and he had achieved all his life goals. At age 14, he had listed about 127 goals,
mm,
like climbing Mount Everest, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, crossing the Nile River on a kayak. These adventure goals he had. He had achieved all of them by age 75.
mm,
When I listened to that story, as the trainer narrated how that story influenced him as a trainer, I could not sleep that night.
mm,
The question that came to my mind is in the last 2 years, from 2001 to 2003, I have been asking what is the meaning to life. I realize I cannot ask that question to life because the life is asking that question to me. I
mm,
am the one who is supposed to answer that question through my behaviors and choices and lifestyle. That was a big revelation for me at age 24. I realized I am the one who has to answer the question. I cannot question my life and ask, what's the meaning to my life? That
mm.
was a big shift in my thinking, which helped me look at what I want, identify my own path in life, and go on my path.
Mm. A moment in time that made you reflect truly on your life. You had several episodes in your life, your dad passing away, and then your grandfather passing away. And you kept asking the same question. What was it that really drove the nail home, if you will? That was it the conversation at this particular conference that you went to? Was it the message? Was it the gentleman who had completed so many goals by the age of 75? Did that bring it all together for you?
You could say that, as you know, when a sculptor is sculpting a statue, this person is hitting with the stone. You cannot say which hit is most important. Like
Mm,
every hit is important.
right.
Similarly, in life, every situation is chipping away some small thing, unwanted thing. So it's difficult to say one thing or the other. A series of things effect. And the day I realized, okay, this is how I need to find meaning, I started listing my own goals. Like, here is what I would love to do. You have read the book, so I talk about the initial 5 goals, very simple goals. Either they were regrets in my life or something I really wanted to do. I took those 5 goals in the beginning, I went after them. From 2003 to 2007, I achieved most of those goals. And that changed completely because I know I have a goal. It's a matter of daily action towards that goal, adjust my approach, and within a few weeks or months, I'll be there. The biggest shift also was not just in achieving the goal, but the process itself is really joyful. It's the journey which makes it more meaningful, more exciting, not the destination.
Mhm. I love how you talked about the actions that you had to take. Some of your goals were like, people were like, "What are you crazy?" Right? Did you did you even consider that maybe you were a little crazy with those goals?
I think that is based on their perspective and where they come from. In fact, if
Mhm.
you see the book, there are 52 goals I lay down in the book. Some are easy, other people may pursue it. It's not difficult. Some are really difficult because they take 2 or 3 or 5 years horizon. Like one
Mm,
example is donating blood 50 times.
mm.
Now, that's not easy to pursue because you can only give so many times every year. You
Correct.
cannot cross that. I mean, you could give platelets these days. People give platelets because you could give multiple times. But my focus was mostly on whole blood. And then maximum 4 times in a year. You cannot give more than that. So imagine at least we need 13, 14 years to donate 50 times, 50.
Mhm.
So this is where I think the shift for people is it's not like one day you finish this. These are all long-term goals I chose, which became my lifestyle, which became my definition of life, my philosophy of life.
Mhm. But in order to even achieve that goal, you had to be healthy. So that also was a culmination of the goal, but you also had to make sure that you were healthy enough to be able to donate the blood. Would you, and I know I read it, but would you tell the audience what set that goal in motion?
My uncle, my father's younger brother, went through a surgery when I was in middle school. He needed a few units of blood back in India. It was difficult to get. I remember my father going around to various blood banks, various people to get a few units. I saw that as a middle schooler. That day I realized, oh my God, this is so important. I realized blood cannot be manufactured. I was asking my dad, like, what's the big deal here? He
Mm,
explained to me that we don't manufacture blood, it has to be transfused, meaning someone has to give it to you. That was a big moment of realization that this is important. I need to help when I grow up.
mm.
I took that from my middle school, maybe I was 13 back then. I took until I was 18, where I was able to donate blood for my uncle again. He went through another surgery when I was 18. When I went and when I donated, I felt really good that I was able to add value to my own uncle through my blood. So I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to continue doing it. This is helpful. I want to lead by example, and that's how things happen. My nephew right now, my sister's son,
Mm,
he turned 18 2 years ago. The day he turned 18, he decided to donate blood because he liked I was doing it. So now he is 20. He has done twice already.
That's beautiful. That's
Right. So this is how example spreads.
mhm. Well, anybody listening, or even if you listen on the replay, you've all seen a movie where the doctors are like, "We need another pint of this to finish this operation," and they come back, "We don't have it. Oh my God, go get it, or this person's going to die." And that's real. That actually does happen. I know that we see it in Hollywood, but whether you know it or not, we all need to step up. And your blood may go to somebody you'll never meet,
Mhm.
but your blood, which flows through your veins, can help save somebody's life. So thank you for that. That's an incredible message. And the fact that you set a goal, it's pretty incredible. I've actually, because I have a large facility, I also use my facility, and I brought tons of people here to
Mhm.
be able to donate, and of course I donated as well. And I think that's a great venture. For my birthday this coming year in 2025, I want to set up the same scenario. I have a 10,000 square foot facility, and I
Mhm.
connect with the Red Cross, and they come and they set up all different beds and stations, and everybody can come and donate blood. So everybody who's near me in New York, come celebrate my birthday giving blood. Let's
Great
give
job.
instead of take, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
the
love it.
birthday gift I want everybody to give. Give me your blood.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for
It saves
doing it.
some
A
lives.
lot of
Yes.
people want to do it, but they don't know when and where and how. In
Mhm,
fact, when I organized blood donation drives in India, there were so many people in my organization who reported to me they wanted to come donate. My
mhm,
friends, my family members, some of them were doing it for the first time. They were so excited to say, okay, this is not difficult because they need an environment, they need a trigger to start once. Once they start, they love it, they continue doing it.
mhm.
So kudos to you for giving opportunity to people so they can do it once, and once they do it, they can continue doing it every few months.
Yeah. I'm very lucky. My blood is the universal type O.
Mm,
So I
okay.
am very fortunate with that. And thank you for even sharing that in your book and everything else. Some other some other concerns was by your family when you were running marathons. Tell me about that. And they're like, "Oh no, are you done? Or are you going for another bigger one?" Tell us about how that came about.
Yeah. See, uh, I have been running since 2009, and my first race was a 6 mile race or 10K race back in India, 2009. Gradually moved to a half marathon, which is 13 miles.
Mhm,
Now, up until 13 miles, it was okay. Not too much time consumed for training and preparing. I moved from 13 miles to 26 miles in 2019,
mm,
which is a 42 kilometers race or 26 miles race.
right.
Now, when you train for these races, your weekdays are busy. At least you've got 2 hours workout every day, 90 minutes, especially if you have a goal. My goal was to finish the full marathon under 4 hours. Now, when you want to finish under 4 hours, you need to be trained.
Mhm,
So, for training, you need to invest a lot of time on weekdays and most importantly on Sundays. Sundays, I used to run about 16 to 20 miles every Sunday while I was training,
right.
which means I used to take about 4 to 5 hours every Sunday morning. So what I write in the book is when I finished my best marathon, I finished in 3 hours, 59 minutes, just under 4 hours in Las Vegas in 2019, December. I knew that my son and my wife would be excited because, oh my God, otherwise he's going to. My goal was to run under 4 hours. But if I had missed that goal, I would have set another goal in next 3 or 4 months
Right.
and another 4 months of training and planning and running on weekends because it affects your family schedule, family events every Sunday. And that's the reason I joke. They never complain, but I joke that they might complain
Mm,
because I am
mm.
taking all these time for training and preparing for a race.
Well, you were taking the time for you and not for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, I made it as a family goal. Like
Mm,
wherever I signed up for marathons, my family comes.
mm,
They are at the start line and they wait at the finish line as well. That's what I've been doing with my family. They enjoy coming. My son has seen me running all these marathons, he's always at the start line and the finish line, because I want to see that it's fun. It's fun to
Yeah.
do something as a person and as a family. And sometimes my wife goes to her events, like running a 6 mile or a 5K race. We go to support her, to cheer for her, and
Nice. Yeah.
be at the finish line.
That's beautiful. Doing things together as a family, I think that's a great way to stay connected as a family. So many people lack it. I've seen where I just, because I run martial arts school and so forth. We did a party this past weekend, and the father could care less about what his 9-year-old was doing, and his son, all he wanted was his dad's attention. It was so sad, and I would have to like call the dad over. Can you please come take a picture with your son? And his dad's like, okay. I was like, wow, that's so sad. When that should not be. He should be there enjoying his child, right? And he was more engaged with another gentleman that brought his kid, and that guy was not paying attention to his kid either. And I believe that when we have a child, it's so that we can enjoy them. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
yeah, I totally agree. Kids want attention. In fact, one of my mentors once told me, children spell time as Love. Or the other way, actually, children spell love as time.
Yeah.
So for them, love is the time and attention. How much
Mm-hmm.
attention you give them, how much time you give, that is love for them.
Mm-hmm.
I realized very early in my fatherhood that time is the essence. I need to give more time and attention.
That's right. Yeah. You also one of the things that I believe that you found in your search for what the meaning of life is to live it, right? To live it to the fullest that you're capable of.
Uh,
You've been given so many gifts, not because they were on a silver platter, but because you went after them, right? All your accomplishments. What would you say to somebody who doesn't really set goals, or maybe sets some goals, but halfway through it becomes too difficult? What would your advice be for them?
My advice is either work with a coach
Mm,
or join a community that has high standards. One of those two options. Either you hire a coach if you can, work with a coach to look at your goals. They can really question your beliefs. I have been a client to so many coaches. I have loved coaching with other people, and I have coached hundreds of people in my career. People can transform their life and their thinking if they can find a coach to help. If that is something you cannot do for various reasons, there are so many communities to join. For example, I have seen so many people who don't like running. They joined a community of runners and they ran so many marathons and maybe longer races, ultra races. The community is powerful. So if you're concerned about not achieving the goal and stopping in between, find out either a coach who can help you or a community who can help you. That's my
mhm.
advice to people.
Yeah, love it, love it. And you talked about ultra. I have a friend of mine who he's run 800 miles.
Wow.
Uh-huh. And that's like the ultra. I mean, that takes days and commitment and so forth. But one of the things, and when I questioned him, I said, why?
Hmm,
He
hmm.
said, I wanted to know if I could. And
Yeah.
then when he's in it, he would say, it's not the next 200 miles I have to run. He started small,
Uh-huh.
50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, 400. And then he went for the bigger ones. And then his goal was never the end. It was, if I can get to the next mile.
Uh-huh.
And when he got there, if I can get to the next mile. Till eventually he's like, whoa, I got here. Right. And I think that that's one of the things that setting the goals up is in increments, right?
Yeah. One of the things you will notice, Sifu, in these endurance sports is, one, it is long term, it
Mhm.
is long distance, it's a long way to train, so many months to train and get there. Second, it is always now. You have to be in the now in the next 1 mile and then you can think about the future miles.
Mhm.
Both of these, long-term view and focus on the next mile, they are great metaphors to human life. Think of this way: we all live
Oh,
for
yeah.
maybe 70, 80 years. It's a long view. And our job is, what are we doing today? What are we doing this week and this year to make my life more meaningful and fulfilling?
Mhm.
That's why a lot of people love endurance sports, because there is a parallel running between endurance sports and human life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are running a race, whether we like it or not. It's how you run it, right?
Yeah. The good news is we are not racing against other people. We are
Mm,
racing against ourselves. That's the
yes.
good news in life.
That is great news. Let me ask you, in your book, you talk about your language. Let's talk about how many languages you started with and how many languages you actually now have, and the difficulties or lack of difficulty that you had, and why you pursued it.
Yes. My favorite topic. So, back in
Mm,
India, even now in some of the uh, rural places in India, English is taught as a third language. So, first
mm,
they learn the state language. Every state has a language in India. By the way, they are not dialects, they are languages. Each
mm.
state has a language.
Wow.
That's why India is unique. It's so diverse because of these languages. It's rich in diversity. Now, then we learn, which is another language called national language, because most states speak that language. We learn that. So, first of all, I learned Kannada, which is the local language in my state. And then I learned Hindi, which is the national language of the country.
Hmm.
A lot of states speak that language. That's why it's a national language. Some states have not accepted it, but that's a popular language. When I was in fifth grade at age 11, I learned to write the alphabet A to Z. You can imagine the challenge it brings, because
Hmm.
now for about 11 years, you have learned two other languages and you're translating your ideas, thoughts into some other language.
Uh-huh.
And Indian languages have some similarities, even though they have different languages, but there is some commonality in grammar structure. You can
Right.
identify there is commonality in structures. But in English is totally different. So up until my high school, end of high school, I had never spoken in English. I had written English, meaning paragraphs, some small essays here and there, because even the discussion in school used to happen in native language. So imagine this: you are at age 18, you can write fairly good English in paragraphs, maybe one or two paragraphs, but you are not able to articulate ideas, share your ideas in a few sentences verbally. That was my biggest challenge. That continued even in my graduation and post graduation. I somehow managed here and there. I managed to cover the gaps. I learned a few things to speak, but I was good at writing. That's the good news, right? So there is, once you know how to write, so what happens is you can translate that knowledge of writing into verbal speaking by deliberate practice and learning ideas. Only when I joined Toastmasters at age 22, I realized this is a forum for me to improve my language, communication, articulation, and public speaking skills.
Mm,
So, my experience with Toastmasters, which is a public speaking forum, has been great. I was a member of that club for about 17 years in
mm,
India and then in the US, in California. So, I've
nice.
enjoyed being part of the club. I've learned a lot of communication skills, language skills, through speaking, through listening to other people speak and making notes, all through osmosis in club meetings.
That's incredible. And the fact that you sought out Toastmasters. And anybody who doesn't know what Toastmasters is, it's a great way for anybody who wants to learn how to, even if you don't get on a stage, it's a good way for you to learn how to communicate at a better level, right? A higher level. That's why I've created my facility, which is Speaking Prowess, to help
Uh,
people communicate at a much higher level than they currently do. Considering that you got a job at Oracle, did you get the job in India and then have to travel? And what language was being spoken at Oracle?
Oracle is primarily English everywhere. So right, so
Okay.
even in India,
Okay.
at office, it's always English. So that was not a big deal. I worked in India for about 13 years, 2002 to 2015. For about 13 years, I worked in India. In 2015, I moved from India to our California office on a international transfer. Then I worked in the US for about 7 years. So overall, 20 years at Oracle, 13 in India and 7 in the US.
And where are you located now?
I am in California, about 10 miles from San Francisco Airport.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. There is another language that you pursued. And I have a 5-year-old kid that I teach who speaks it, reads it, and sings
Wow.
using it. 5 years old. And his mother showed me a video with him in a microphone and he's singing. And I'm like, wow, this kid is so intelligent at 5, very well spoken, but he's so ahead of himself that he gets into trouble. Sanskrit. Talk to me about Sanskrit.
Yes. When I was inspired by John Goddard, John had his goal about exploring other languages, like classical languages. He learned so many other languages. I remember at least 3 to 4 he experimented with. When I read his goals, I thought, okay, what if I learn one more language and just improve myself? By that time, I already knew 3 languages, meaning written as well as spoken. Kannada, which is my mother tongue, and then Hindi at school, and then English. So I knew 3 languages to write and speak and read, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for another language, maybe fourth language. Originally, I wanted to learn Spanish. Somehow I thought, Spanish is a good thing to add. Let me add Spanish to my list. I was exploring some courses back in India. One day I was reading, I come from a family where we were taught to chant Sanskrit verses every day for meditation, for spiritual development, and so on, right from my childhood. I remember in my primary school as well, during summer holidays, my father taught me and my brother Sanskrit chanting. I didn't know the meaning, of course. I just knew
Right.
the sounds and how to chant them. I had no idea what they meant.
Right.
So a thought came to me all of a sudden that day, like, why do I need to go to Spanish? I can do it later. What if I learn Sanskrit? Because anyway, I'm chanting these verses every day. At least I know the meaning of these sentences I'm chanting or the verses I'm chanting. And it could be my portal into studying more about Hinduism and philosophy in India and all the scriptures of ancient India. That was the reason I said, okay, let me explore if I can learn Sanskrit. That was the impetus or the starting point to learn Sanskrit. I went for learning about 3 or 4 years of learning. I learned spoken Sanskrit first, basic Sanskrit, and a spoken language. Then I read various books, including Bhagavad Gita and Kama Sutra in India. And then I learned the grammar of Sanskrit. It is exceptionally done. It's amazing. You can codify the language as if it's a computer programming language. So since I have a computer science background,
Right. It
it
makes
was
sense.
fascinating. It was fascinating. Like you can actually write programs based on those rules. It can be codified. So
Wow.
I wish more people who knew computer science would study Sanskrit. There's a lot they can achieve by mixing them. The knowledge of computer science and the simplicity of all those rules, how they can codify so many rules into a small book of 8 chapters. Panini was the grammarian who put together in a book called a book of 8 chapters. It's called Astadhyayi in Sanskrit, which means a book of 8 chapters or eight sections. It is fascinating. This language is fascinating. Even the sounds, it is unique because if you look at the sounds of the language, they originate from different parts of your body. Some sounds come from the belly, your navel.
Right.
Some sounds come from your nose. Some sound come from your forehead. Some sound come from your heart. It's really nice. The more you read about this, the more you indulge.
You appreciate it, yeah.
You appreciate it and you enjoy it so much that you say, wow, this is amazing. It's an ocean.
Incredible. What would you say that after learning this, you got from it besides the beauty of it? What was the one thing that's still with you even today from learning Sanskrit?
One is I chant a lot of shlokas every day, a lot of verses. Shloka is a Sanskrit word, verse is an English word. So it's a couplet, a two-line verse. I chant a lot of those from my childhood, even today. Now, when I don't know the meaning and chant, the effect is even more. Effect is higher. So one is the daily chanting itself became more grounding, more fulfilling, more joyful because I know the meaning of what I'm chanting. That's one.
That's nice.
Yeah. Second is there is a lot of good scripture, a lot of good writing, whether it is poems, quotes, sayings there in Sanskrit. Now I was able to understand what they mean and use them in my speeches, my coaching sessions, and my discussions to impact people. So that's second one. And how you can take wisdom from one place. I also quote a few things in my book, at least 4 or 5 I remember. There are some amazing quotes, like several thousand years ago. If you go back in the history, this is really ancient Sanskrit. You'll be surprised at the level of depth they had in terms of thinking, in terms of human thinking. Like in one of the verses in one of the scriptures in India, it talks about we are part of fullness. We come from the fullness. We are it. I mean, there's so much meaning to it, right? So there's so much division around this world, like you are that, you are this. But if you look at the root, it's everybody's the same.
Yeah.
We are all from the same. So in fact, we are the source. You are, there's one more common thing called you are that. It's in Sanskrit, it's called tat tvam asi. You are that. But if you slow down, well, you are that. Whatever you are seeking, you are that. So the more
That's
you realize, oh
beautiful.
my God, this is amazing. I mean, there is so much wisdom here. I don't need to go anywhere. So that's the beauty of learning Sanskrit. I was able to connect back to the roots, which is non-sectarian. If you look at some of these older scriptures, there is less focus on God, religion, but there is more focus on unity. The world is one. We all come from the same source. You are the same as the other person.
Right.
Some of these messages was really nice for me to go back. I have missed that if I had not learned Sanskrit.
Wow. Interesting. Very, very, very insightful. And thank you for sharing that. What would you say in pursuing all these 52 goals, right? What would you say was your toughest pursuit so far?
There are many, but just for context, I can take one and explain. For me, writing the book was the toughest for a few reasons. Number one is my own belief. It actually hit my own belief that could I be an author? Would people read my book? What if they don't like? How long would it take? Is it too much effort? What if I stop in between? All of these doubts, criticism, they were really troubling me. I took about 9 months to publish the book. From first page to publishing is about 9 months. I worked with two coaches, one here in the US, one in Japan. Dr. Eric Maisel in the US, Scott Allen in Japan. Those 9 months were really transformative. If you also look at other goals like losing weight and marathon, they were tough as well. I'm not denying it. Even donating blood was tough, maintaining my health for so long, keeping all the numbers correct. But I would say in terms of my own internal belief that I had to shatter and come out, it is writing a book. Because my writing style is different. I wanted to keep it really simple. If you read the book, it's not really fancy. I remember I kept it at a 5th grade reading level. The whole book is at that level. Deliberately, I pulled out the words that are not easy. A 5th grader can read the book. In fact, you will not believe a 7-year-old kid, my client's daughter, my coaching client's daughter, who is in 2nd grade, she read the whole book.
Beautiful.
After reading, she listed 5 goals for herself at age 7.
Wow. I love it.
Goals like she's scared of water, she wants to learn swimming. She gets afraid of loud noises. She's trying to improve and say, how do I be courageous while that sound is on? How do I not get afraid? How do I be grounded? Now, at age 7, if my book can impact, look at the simplicity of language.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I am excited, happy. It was a challenge for me to publish a book, but the fact that people come and tell me, hey, I love this book. There are about 300 reviews on Amazon today, as of today, 300 reviews from 11 countries. This is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So this shows me my belief that I may not be a good author. People may not like my book. What's the big deal? In fact, I was judging my own goals. Anybody could achieve those goals. What's the point of me writing about that book?
Mm-hmm.
The other challenge was my book is of different genre. It is not like a regular self-help book where I'm dishing out ideas to you. Okay, follow these 10 things for your life success.
Right.
I'm saying, look, this is how I struggled and I achieved these goals. 80% is demonstration, 20% is information, my book. And not everybody likes that aspect, by the way. They keep saying to me, some of them, not all, some of them ping me and say, hey, I read the book. Not that great because I wanted more information.
Mm.
I clearly say in the beginning, there is a lot of information in this world. You go to ChatGPT, you go to Google or Perplexity, you type a prompt or Cloud AI, you get answers to all your questions about how to achieve goals. That's not the point. The world needs more demonstration, not more information at this point. So anybody who is curious about to read my book or not, is it worth reading? The answer is, if you are looking for demonstration, an example of finding your true goals and finding meaning in your goal pursuit, then my book would be a good candidate for you.
I also love the title, right? Beyond Your Limits.
Yeah.
And I agree. Most people are looking for step by step by step by step by step, but you even said it in Sanskrit. You are that. You're that which you're looking for. I love. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna hold on to that one. Thank you. Because you are that. You are what you're looking for, yet we keep looking outside, but we don't look inside. Right. And I think that's a valuable gift that you've given us today to share that with us. And you're right. Most people don't realize that they need to see someone taking the actions, because if they say, if they can do it, I can do it. And I am the answer to how, right?
Absolutely.
The thing that I love about you is that you're very honest. And when you said, I wrote it at a 5th grade reading level, was brilliant on your part. Because that's how, and I'm not saying that you're a politician, but that's how politicians are taught to speak sometimes, so that they communicate with everyone. They don't leave anyone out. And your book does that brilliantly, by the way. And I did love your book. And when we can consider what you've done, and one of your biggest challenges was writing the book, and you say, am I worthy? Will people read it? And a lot of people want to say, I'm going to write a book. I want to be the best seller. And I think they're missing the point. I don't want to be the best seller. And I don't think you want to be the best seller. You want to be the best read, the most
That's right.
read, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that you're doing it because you didn't set limits. And you wrote about 52 in here. I know you're not done. Tell us about some goals that you are even contemplating at the moment.
I'll tell you a few
If you
goals.
can, if you can.
Why not? I'll tell you a couple of family goals and one business goal or You can call it as my personal goal. So one, I'll start with one. So when my son turns 18, we would like to run a 6 mile or a 10K race together, my son and I. That's one goal as a family. When he turns 21, we will run, me and him and I will run a half marathon, which is 13 miles or 21 kilometers when he turns 21. So those are the goals I'm really excited about. He's 13. We have got 5 more years to go for the first goal. That's something on my horizon. The second thing is, if you want to look at my personal goal, I have been attempting to teach at Stanford an evening course. I don't have the credentials for a regular college course. I don't have a PhD, but I do have enough life skills and other areas to teach an evening course. So one of my goals is to teach evening courses at Stanford. I've taken several courses as a student. I am submitting my course proposals in the next few weeks. I wrote a couple last year. I keep submitting once in a while. That's another goal I have. So I can only control my process. I can keep submitting my proposals, but the approval is not in my control. So I do what's in my control. So these are the goals I really want to achieve in the next few years. There are more. I'm sure there are more, but for now, I only share these three. 10K race with my son, 21K when he turns 21, and teaching an evening course in the continuing studies division at Stanford.
Awesome. I love it. What kind of course are you looking to teach?
My genre is leadership, storytelling, communication, and identifying your life goals. Those are 4 genres. I keep submitting once in a while all of these 4. Sometimes I submit 3 of them, sometimes 1. I know usually there is a lot of courses they are getting in this genre. They might be interested more in AI and machine learning and data and so on. So I still want to publish in my area and say, here is what my proposals are, regardless of how they accept it or not. I really want to teach. My expertise is meaning and purpose in life. So I want to teach around that, either life skills or leadership skills, those 2 areas.
Yeah. I think that leadership skills are so needed nowadays. And even if some people may take 20 courses on leadership and still not be a leader, right? Because
I love it.
they're not doing the due diligence to become the leader, to be heart-centered. I think the leaders that we should have in leadership are the ones that lead with their heart. That's my opinion. And I know there's a lot who are not, but my opinion is that we should have heart-centered leadership.
I agree. The challenge also is organizations may not be set up that way. So what happens is there is a conflict between the individual who wants to lead by heart, from the heart, but organizations are so cutthroat and so focused on numbers, performance, and so much focus on external things. The environment may not help the manager who has a role. Leader is more of the actions you take, but manager is the role you have in the organization. So even though they want to lead, they may not be able to, which is where the stress comes from.
Right. Well, I'm sure you're going to put it together and give them both the heart-centered and the full leadership concept of structure, and sometimes you have to be the boss to be a leader, because some people need to be led, right, until
Yes.
they become the leaders themselves. And one of the things that you said earlier is that we have to be careful who we follow, right? Because followers who are following followers will never become leaders. We need to lead with example, and we need to follow leaders who do so as well. For me, it's always when I'm teaching someone to become a leader, it's I say to them, if you can't do it, you can't teach it. So you need to be able to do it.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's hearsay, right? Isn't it? Isn't that what they call it, hearsay?
Yes. Yeah.
What
It's the action. It's the action. That's where the rubber meets the road. Everybody can preach. Being a practitioner is where it is. You need to be a practitioner. In other words, you can be a librarian of all the wisdom. You can catalog all the wisdom you have and say, I know so much. Or you can become a warrior of wisdom, meaning apply what you know in the battle of life.
Yeah, the battle of life. And whoever thinks that life is not a battle, they're living in the dark, right?
Yeah. And sometimes we are fighting our own selves, the darker side of ourselves.
Yes. When you're in a dark room and there's no mirrors and there's no one else in there, you are fighting yourself. So you need some light. Sometimes it's someone else who brings the light, right? Sometimes you create the light because you learn how to make the light. How important is it for a leader to have people in their corner who helps hold the light that they're shining?
Extremely important, whether it is internal mentors in the organization, somebody who is willing to give you time, listen to your perspectives, offer new perspectives. It can be a mentor or it can be a coach outside the organization who can understand what's going on, because we are all creatures of thoughts. We believe what we think about. We think that is the truth. While it is partial truth, it is
Mm.
a reality, not the reality. This is where you can go with a coach or a mentor and talk about, here is what I'm thinking right now. Am I stuck in my own thinking? That's how you can get different perspectives. Otherwise, what happens is I am a frog in the well.
Mm.
I think my world is my mind. You can see outside the well as you talk to other people. Sometimes book can give you that perspective, reading a book or going to a course. But the best thing I've seen is talking to other human beings, like a mentor who has gone through an experience, who has seen all these perspectives hundreds of times. They can tell you, this is what I might do. What do you think you should be doing in this situation? What are the risks here? Or a coach who is going after your belief system. The coach may not have gone through what you have gone through, but the coach knows how you think, how human beings think, their belief systems, their limitations, their habits. And they go after your limiting beliefs to see how are they interfering you to take action.
Mm. I love that. I love that because it is important how we are interpreting every action that we take ourselves. When you started writing the book, what was your goal? What was the goal with the book?
There were two goals. One is to inspire more people to consider their intrinsic goals or life goals and go after those life goals. That was one thing. Inspire people through my own demonstration that yes, if you can find your intrinsic goals, you can find meaning in life, you can have a purposeful life, you can grow as an individual through goals. That was one thing. The second thing was as I coached people in the last 18 months as a business owner, I started coaching people full time. I realized that coaching does not scale. If I meet 10 clients every month, that's all I can do. Maybe 20 clients, maximum 20, not more than that. But there are some people who may not need that level of assistance. All they need is some great tools to start,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they can independently achieve their goals after some time. So the idea was to create a course, a 7-week course based on my 7-step goals. If you see, I have a 7-step achievement process, a framework for goal achievement. Now I have a live course I teach online on 7 Saturdays. Each Saturday, we take one idea, like begin with the end in mind, become accountable. We go through the details for 90 minutes. It's a group coaching call. In 7 weeks, they identify their life goals and start making progress on these goals one day at a time.
Mm.
So, to sum up, inspire more people to consider intrinsic goals through my book. Thousands of people around the world can read the book and get inspired. Now, if they want to go deeper, they can come to my cohort course. We work together as a community. They have a community now to support, hold each other accountable for 7 weeks to identify and make progress on their goals. Those are the two goals I wanted to achieve from my book. I am already achieving that. A lot of people are reading the book around in 11 countries. I am just finishing my first cohort course this Saturday. This is 7th week, this Saturday.
Mm.
We are
Beautiful.
looking at the last element of my framework, which is enjoy the journey of goal. Enjoy the journey. That is
Mm.
happening this Saturday. I just made a post on LinkedIn this morning. What an exciting time. Writing a book brought me a challenge of how do I help more people, which resulted in a cohort course. And I am now ending the first cohort.
Love it. Love it. What people don't realize that your book speaks to so many people, and you don't have to go there and speak to them. They may be reading it in the middle of the night. They may be reading it when you're busy, but they're listening to you, to your ideas, your concerns, your struggles that you went through. And congratulations on writing such an exceptional book. When somebody needs to write a book, how do they know that they even should write a book?
In fact, I was part of an authors community of 2,000 people. It's a Facebook community of 2,000 people. What I learned is everybody has something in their heart that they can write one book at least, every individual. Initially, I thought this is all bogus. People just make it up. But the more I thought about it, the more I met various authors in other countries, I realized everybody has enough experience to write one book. So that is the belief I want all the listeners to understand, that you have something in you, at least one book. The second question, like, okay, what can I write? The question can be, what do you really like? What do you read a lot about?
Mm.
The second question you could also ask is, what is that people come to you for advice? Is it fitness, health, positive mindset, growth mindset, goal setting, leadership, communication, or investment, stock market? Doesn't matter, nutrition. People will come to you for some advice. You are already offering free advice, and that advice can become a book.
Mm. Love it, love it. And that book can become a course, and that book can become a public speaking engagement, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I keep talking to my friends who have done TED Talks. We keep talking that my book premise can be a wonderful TED Talk.
I agree. I agree. I look forward to knowing when you're going to do it. And if I can be there, let me know. I would love to be part of the audience to support you. I think you're doing amazing things. And I love, besides the title of your book, right? I love the simplicity and the complexity of it, because a lot of people try to do complex and then say it's easy, but you did it the other way around. And I love that, right?
Yeah.
Beyond your limits. So, Pramada, I'm going to give you a little space right now to promote you, to promote how people can reach out to you. I have your website going across. And before you do that, when are you starting your next course?
The next course will be in January 2025, next month. I don't have the dates yet, but you can go to my website. I'll send you another link after this call. It's called maven.com, is where I teach the course. People can go there and search my name. You can
Nice.
waitlist yourself to the course. If you want to read the book, it's available on Amazon in digital format, printed format, and Audible, all three formats. My book is also available on Spotify. If you are a premium member, it is free for you. If you're not, you have to purchase the book on Spotify.
Mhm.
It's available on Barnes and Noble. It's available on Apple Book. Wherever you go, my book is available. I've done a good job
Nice.
in ensuring it's available everywhere. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I create a piece of content every day, all 7 days a week, on leadership, personal growth, storytelling, goal setting, and so on. They're all short, actionable posts. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can also subscribe to my free newsletter, which comes out every Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can go to my website, changesmith.me, and from there you can subscribe to my newsletter. So those are the places you can go to know more about me. I also have some digital courses on the website. If you're interested in storytelling or speaking, communication, leadership, or building amazing slides in a business presentation, I have digital courses as well. Just go to my website. There is a lot you can explore.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. And your website, LinkedIn, is going across the screen. And here's changesmith.me. One last question for you. Public speaking. Notes, no notes, slides, no slides. I guess that's a two-part question.
Mm. I mean, if it's a business context, typically slides are required. If it's a business context,
Mhm.
but because people like visual as well as oral. But
Right.
if it's a speech, I would not use any notes. I would tell stories.
Yeah.
I would talk about life stories, easy to remember, easy to render, easy to pause, as opposed to speaking bullet points. I love narrating stories, essentially concrete stories where people can see what I'm saying, they can hear it, they can feel it, they can smell it. So the more concrete I can make in stories, the more engaging the audience will be. So the
Mm.
answer is no notes and mostly stories or multiple stories.
Yeah, yeah. Because stories help someone engage, right? It brings them to a place, a time, even smells, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
Because when I was narrating my story about quickly saying, oh, there were 20 people in the room, the trainer was standing there, I'm sure some people saw a picture of them sitting in the
mm,
room with
right.
20 people with them, and there is a trainer or instructor in the front of the room talking about something.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. And stories, I mean, wow. Here's what I say about stories: it's the stories that amplify your life. Those are the ones that really connect your audience with you, right?
Yes.
Right. Pramoda, thank you so much for taking the time. Do me a favor, hang out for a minute. We're going to say goodbye to everybody. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. If you watch this on the replay, hit hashtag replay and let us know what you think. And what I suggest, because it was such a great show, so many great ideas and concepts were shared by Pramada, share it. Share it with your friends, family, and maybe look at it again. You might have missed an important part. Thank you, everybody. Have yourself an exceptional rest of your day. Take care.